As we all know, in the past few years, the retail landscape, both online and offline, has changed drastically, particularly in Asia and in Greater China. I am pleased to have Ms. Judy Liu, President, Greater China and Asia Pacific, and Executive Board Member of FARFETCH, to join me to dissect new retail trends and shed some light on how brands can innovate and engage new markets as we head into an economic slowdown. Before Judy comes on stage, I'd like to introduce a brief video by FARFETCH, and we'll be right back. Thank you. Hi, Judy.
Hi.
Welcome to Hong Kong. Nice to have you here.
Thank you, and sorry for my sexy voice. I lost my voice actually several days ago, but Hong Kong weather is so good, so I'm recovering.
I was going to say, it doesn't sound too sexy, so it's okay. Today we're talking business, no sexy talk today. No, I'm just teasing you. So I know there's a lot of topics we want to talk about today, but I first wanted to sort of set the scene a little bit, especially with your expertise. You know, we Carolines, both the Carolines discussed a little bit earlier about how the fashion industry has changed. We've had, coming out of COVID, now we kind of have this looming economic slowdown. And I think this is changing a lot of things for brands and designers, especially when it comes to their channel strategy, you know, retail, online, offline. In your experience, where do you think designers should be placing their products right now in order to maximize the potential?
I think it really depends on the brand stage, right? You know, I'm also on the board of some brands, not in FARFETCH, such as Shangsha and Acne Studios. They are totally different stage. So by seeing also more than 3,000 brands on the platform, I think the channel strategy is really depends on the brand stage. So if you are a brand which is with a solid volume, more mature, of course you want to have the D2C channel as much as you can. I think also Bernard Arnault used to say, if you can control your distribution, you can control your image. And it means the D2C channel, you can always control your price, you can control your image, is always preferred for the brands. And then you can have part of the wholesale as a supplementary channel to basically promote your brand and the product to a different audience in their own community language. So this is for the more like mature brands. And then for the young designers, I still believe the multi-brand boutiques and the online channel are the first choice. The multi-brand boutiques, they really help you to match with the right audience, with the right customer who actually love your culture, love your DNA. And then plus you don't have inventory risk. And then for online channel, it's a bit different. Online channel, you may well take some risk to work with marketplace to produce the inventory. But however, this is really to help you immediately to promote your brand and product to a large audience, like to all the customers around the world, and to really increase not only the conversion of your sales, but the more important is the visibility as your brand. But it doesn't matter what's the stage you have and what's the channel strategy you have today. I think we all know the challenge of the macroeconomic environment today. The most important thing, it doesn't matter what's the business size you are today, the inventory planning is the key. And that's what help you to have a more healthy and sustainable growth in long run.
I mean, the online marketplace, especially here in Asia, has grown so much. I don't have the numbers, but I mean, they're huge. The potential is huge. What are the biggest advantages and disadvantages today of placing your product online? And has it changed a lot, you know, since pre-COVID?
Yes, I touched a little bit action already. I think for online, if I'm a young designer, definitely I would choose online to start with. And this really can like think about, let's say I'm a Hong Kong designer, I have my studio here, and then immediately every season, like in a few weeks, I can push my product to 190 countries around the world. You have people sitting in each different regions actually interested into your product. I think this kind of power and convenience and the massive impact you can create online is not replaceable. So this is still, I think, the biggest, the convenience is still the biggest advantage of online is the size, the volume. But in terms of disadvantage, when we're growing a brand, that we need to show, for example, if you don't have the full catalog on each platform, and then it's very hard for the customer to understand your full image as a brand. And then you cannot be directly in touch with your customer to have a conversation. I think that definitely is, the disadvantage we have now. That's why online and offline we need to integrate both channels and for any stage of brands.
So with bricks and mortar, you've always had clear definitions when it comes to markets, and the product is always catered to each market. And I think you're starting to see these regional nuances online as well. And because you look after the greater China and Asia Pacific region, I wanted to talk a little bit about these nuances and sort of the major geographical groups in the region, and how can brands and designers take into account these different regional differences and when implementing their online strategy.
And I also saw some of the APAC CEO are sitting here today. I think they can share more than me as an online platform operator. Let me just touch a little bit. So when we are seeing the Asia market, we break down to 3 groups. The first one, obviously, is China. That I think for most of the brands, especially for mature brands, it represents the biggest business share. Yes. And then China is the customer. We need to know the customer. They are young. Like for our own data, they are average at least 5 years younger than other regions. And then they're big spender. So it doesn't matter it's offline for the brand or it's for online platform like us. You can say the average spender in China is much higher. And plus, they're global citizen. So today, when you say the Bain data, the McKinsey data, or the data from the bank, you may well say, by 2030, 2035, and Chinese is going to take 40-45% of the market share. But if you really combine all the Chinese living around the world, you will say it's today definitely is already biggest cohort. So this is for China. The second group we usually basket together is the market which is a bit more developed and mature in Asia, such as Japan, Korea, Singapore, Australia, New Zealand. Why? Because the infrastructure there is much more ready and mature that allowed us to have a more smooth operation. And also the customer, because the social media, because the languages, and actually this really make the customer more trendy, they follow the fashion trend immediately. So those are the second group. And then they, for example, let's take Japan as an example. Japan is still the first country for some of the brand when they want to expand their Asia business. But when we look, and we also have amazing Japanese designers in our industry, when we look at the customer profile in the Japan market, we can say that their age is a bit older. But very interesting angle is we say bigger male customer as a percentage in Japan. And then when you talk about Korea, of course, you saw the data in terms of the percentage of how much they spend in luxury goods of their income. They have the highest ratio in the world. So this is the second group. And then the third group is the Southeast Asia. So when we expand our business to Southeast Asia, the interesting thing is we don't look actually country by country strategy. We actually have a city by city strategy because those market, the polarization is kind of extreme sometimes for the customer cohort. So the most important thing is to identify the right city and focus on the city strategy.
I mean, they are so distinct. So as a young designer, how do, like, let's say I wanted to create an online business for my fashion collection. How do I know which region to target first? I mean, what would be your advice for a designer? How do they navigate those sort of regional differences?
When you have a limited resource, always choose the biggest region to target with, because you are going to spend the same time, you are going to spend a similar resource, but you are going to get bigger return. So that's, if I'm a designer myself, I will always choose the biggest market to target.
And I wanted to talk a little bit about consumer behavior, because that's also changing, especially post-COVID. So are people still buying luxury? I mean, the numbers say they are, but are they really still buying luxury? Are you noticing much difference now?
You saw the data, you saw the finance report of FARFETCH. Yes, they're still buying luxury. Of course, the behavior changed post-COVID. But those behaviors, sometimes I feel like it's not a change, it's just an acceleration because COVID. And then the first trend, we always talk about this word polarization. But I think polarization means, has a different meaning to different people. Like, social status is always the first reason for Chinese customers, and in general, the Asian customer, to shop luxury. And this is even more in China, right? So the ultra brand, they are still preferred for most of the customers, I think. And also customers, they start to, after COVID, and especially face the headwind of economic, they prefer to buy less but buy better. So they buy like the product which can, let's say if it's a fashion piece, I can carry for a long time, that I still can wear it. If it's like another category, is a piece that I can maintain the values. And then, but at the same time, we also can say that for the young generation, and also for the very fashionable customers, means more mature customer in fashion, they actually, we say continuous increase in purchase from them for the new racing designers. So the polarization, I think, for different cohort means different thing, but buy less, buy better, and buy what you really like. I think that is a polarization for me, such as a quiet luxury. And Kushnani is one of the most popular brands the last 2-3 years in China. And it means what? It means customers, they become more mature on what they want. Some of the customers, they already can go over the logos. So they want the comfortable, high quality product that fit themselves. I think this is a polarization.
So during COVID, we actually saw a big move towards domestic brands or domestic designers, which is wonderful. But now that COVID has ended, I feel that, now that the world is open, supply chains are back working, those newer brands maybe are not being discovered anymore. So how can those brands start to recapture the market, in your opinion, and how can they utilize it online to do that?
I think that the second trend we really saw the behavior change after COVID is you mentioned the domestic shopping. That the customer, they start to care about much more about service and experience, right? So that's why you have this shift. So instead of squeeze their travel time to spend one day in Milan or Paris or London to shop everything, I think they prefer much more to have a casual, relaxed shopping in the store, in the domestic stores. And that is also part of social status for them, the service. And we also can say that the spending allocation, so that they, for example, in China, I just had a cross to Tsinghua University with the McKinsey together. So we saw the data that in specific categories such as food and beverage, such as luxury traveling, such as entertainment, that customer, they allocate much more spending in those categories. So what that means that service and experience become extreme more important for the customers. So as a designer, as a brand, I think for online, we need to really leverage the platform traffic. What that means is to leverage the traffic trend to be tag along of all their campaign, to show the to be at the top of mind of your category manager, to show the reactivity and the proactivity to the platform that I want to actually be part of the platform activity. This is for online. And then for offline, I always said the most important thing when you start a brand, it doesn't matter which stage you are, is to really, really focus your time on your customer. Like take example of we are a marketplace e-commerce business, but one third of our China revenue generated by 1.5% of customer. Yeah, and I even don't need to mention that how the big brands, they say their VIC, they prioritize their VIC position. So it's very easy to say, but often when I deal with designers, I feel like they actually, when they have so many priorities on their plate, they forget your first group of customers. They are your first influencer and your first opinion leader and your first group of brand ambassadors. And really dedicate your time to be close to them and to engage with them. I think that's the most important thing for any offline experience.
Is omni-channel still important? I mean, it was a buzzword a few years ago. I hate using buzzwords, but it is a reality. And how is that being integrated better now, you think, by designers today?
You know, my background actually the same as the brand, the designer. I was an entrepreneur. So FARFETCH acquired my company that in 2018. But before I was working my own company. Basically, I have like 10 years in internet industry and 10 years experience, more than 10 years in the luxury fashion. So kind of a crossover experience. But since the beginning, when I work in internet industry and back to maybe 2004, I always tell people there is no clear breakdown of online and offline. There's no breakdown. It's always together. Imagine your customer, they got very attracted or interested of your product online. They go to your offline shop to try the product, and then they think about it. You may won't have their size, and then they convert to online. Are they an online or offline customer? We don't know. And now in China, all the sales assistants in the brand store, they use WeChat Work to deal with their customer. And then often you will say that they have a talk and promote a new product to their VIC. And then the VIC, they actually, oh, I like this new arrival product. I want to order it. So they place the order online. They ship it to their home. It's an online or offline customer. You don't know. So omnichannel for me is really that to have the right infrastructure and even more important, the data to be where the customer is and to serve them with an immersive and seamless shopping experience. So the customer, they feel very smooth. And but we need to actually build all the foundation infrastructure and data. Everyone talking about data. We have so many different regulations in China, in Europe about data. But I think as a precondition, when we have those data on our hand, are we really leveraging it and using it in a smart way? I think that is a future kind of development opportunity for our industry as an omnichannel strategy. Because today, I don't really think we're leveraging the data enough.
And I wanted to talk a little bit about physical retail, and especially in China, I know that we've kind of seen the rebirth of multi-brands, and also cafe retail concepts have been really popular. What other new trends have you noticed, or why do you think these are resonating more with audiences now?
As we mentioned, after COVID, well-being becomes so important globally, even in China market. And anything related to lifestyle is extremely also important. That's why we saw all the trends about, you have this kind of, I don't say a kind of racing trend back of the boutique. You also can say that all the cafe, like the week before last week, I think Ami Paris, they did amazing coffee pop-up in Beijing, Ralph Lauren, all those examples. So for the so the customer, they want to have emotional engagement. They want to have a good lifestyle. They want to, explore new things. I think that's also an opportunity for online, for the boutique. Boutique, we have a great example, like Tasha's neighborhood. We have Look Now. We have One Block, and then we have a lot of amazing that boutiques also are doing, like not only in China, and also we have a lot of amazing partners in Asia. I think they can actually carry this kind of lifestyle, emotional engagement offline with their specific audience in their community language.
And I wanted to talk a little bit about new categories and potential markets. I think COVID, we saw a lot of new categories sort of come out of nowhere. I think we talked a bit about jewelry. What other categories do you think are now starting to have huge potential, especially maybe we can talk about Greater China and then maybe the rest of the region as well?
The first category we saw not only in luxury fashion, but in sports and fashion in general is active wear. So we say that continuously grow of active wear. Lululemon, I shouldn't say, but it's almost a cash machine. And then we saw the Chinese example of Anta. They actually acquired a lot of amazing that premium that outdoor wear. I think this definitely is an increasing category. And I think in general, any category that is relevant to lifestyle, such as home, like a home category, homeware, that before people, they buy outfit and the things they can carry to the social occasions. But now customers, they invite people to home. They spend a lot of time, more and more time at home. So they want to use their space to also show their lifestyle and taste. So home category will also see continuously that growth, increasing growth, actually more than another category. And then anything related to lifestyle, such as fragrance and that body product that related to well-being, is also increasing a lot. Not only the global brand, but we also, like a lot of my friends, they are also entrepreneur and brand founder. We also see some very good that Chinese brand is growing, such as Two Summer, and so yeah, anything related to lifestyle, and which is a very good, positive thing to say, yeah.
What about fine jewelry? A lot of people have spoken about that, and it's especially strange that people will buy a diamond ring online without even seeing it. So I'm curious how fine jewelry has been for you.
Fine jewelry definitely is. Fine jewelry is a category with kind of developing opportunity, because as a size itself is still not that big, right? So we definitely say that a customer to purchase more on fine jewelry, but however, I still believe jewelry is a category that's really relevant to branding, like the DNA, the design language. For me, it's still just personal opinion, doesn't represent all the customers. I always prefer to know the designer and what's the style, what's the design language, what's the DNA, and then I can purchase like in a row. Then when they have new product launch, I can pay attention. So fine jewelry, I really think the designer is a category that designers should invest more to actually build this kind of emotional attachment with their customers. And it's not an easy category to standardize, I have to say, yeah.
You touched on brand building, which I think is an interesting topic in general online, because when you're talking to a person, when you're in the store, you can feel it, you can see the product. How has brand building online changed, and how are you sort of leveraging that at FARFETCH?
Yeah. FARFETCH is different because we are marketplace, and marketplace is an e-commerce platform. E-commerce platform, performance marketing, data-driven, ROI-driven is still the majority of the marketing. But for a brand, it's totally different. And today, the world is flat. Social is for the young generations. So as a young designer, I think you definitely have the advantage to speak the same language on social with your customers. So for example, like if I say the difference between the West and the East, so in the West, the majority of your marketing spend is on two platforms, Google and Meta. And Google and Meta, they have super mature and solid system for you to use your money smartly. So that's for the West. But for the East, I'm even not talking about each region. Again, I take always China as example. each platform, they have a different ecosystem. The content format should be different. And then you need to adapt yourself to all the different platforms to speak the same language of the customer who come to this platform. So I think like really the change is about the creative, the content, how you can actually produce that high frequent, high quantity of quality the content, but with a high quality, and still deliver your branding DNA to the customers. I think it's not a challenge only for new designer brands. It's a challenge for everyone today. It's an ongoing challenge for everyone today. So creativity, before we said service and experience become extremely important more than ever, I think creativity is also the same, become important more than ever.
Okay, so I know that we're running out of time, so if anybody wants to send a question, I think we've got a QR code. I have a couple of questions here. Oh, there's so many, I don't know where to start. You're popular, Judy. Okay, this person wants to talk about social status as a driver for Chinese customers to shop luxury. Apart from status, Chinese customers, especially Gen Z, are becoming fashion advocates. Which means that instead of a high price and big logos, they're placing strong focus on on the brands that they endorse, the meanings of the brands that they endorse, so sustainability, social impact. Do you see this trend, and what do you think it means to fashion businesses?
I think first, I always want to say the market is big enough. So Chinese nationality is going to take nearly half of the luxury fashion market. So when we are talking about customers, we are not talking about the same profile. We are talking about all the different cohorts. You definitely have cohorts that are more logo-driven and super brand-driven. And most of the time we see they are maybe entry-level. They just start to shop fashion. But you also have very mature customer that they already shop fashion since teenagers. They know what they want, and they are looking. Fashion, at the end, what is fashion? And Guopei just mentioned culture, right? So for us, fashion is about self-exploration. So when fashion is a self-exploration, it doesn't mean there's one solution for everyone, because everyone has different individuality, right? So for new designer, for niche brand, I always feel like you just need to find your community, and you need to focus your time to build this kind of connection with your community. At the end, your fashion design is your language to build the bonding with your community. So I believe for everyone, the market is big enough and we have all the opportunities. But we need to go deeper into this culture and self-exploration when you are design your brand strategy.
This is actually jumping on our talk about fine jewelry. There is a huge disadvantage for new fine jewelry brands to grow their brands online, as customers are reluctant to shop high-value goods. What recommendations would you give a new fine jewelry brand in order for them to utilize online sales successfully?
We saw kind of faster growth for a period for fine jewelry online. That's true. And then we saw kind of also a little bit slowdown of fine jewelry category. Of course, we have headwind because of microenvironment. But fine jewelry, I really believe that this is something that the customer, they still need to try, right? The good things of online is today, the return service is very convenient. So a customer, they can buy, they can return in a very convenient one. I think this is a good advantage of online. But in another way, maybe people who is more familiar of the China market know how Douyin, the Chinese TikTok, is popular today. And I give one example as a category, which is jade. So the jade feicui, like used to be not a category for everyone to wear. It's a very Eastern thing, right? But because the live streaming that the customer, they actually got chance to understand what is jade, why I need to wear it, plus the well-being angle, and then it become like a racing star as a category that by live streaming. So I think in the future that live streaming is something, this kind of new format of content is really also a convenient way that we can leverage to build this kind of emotional engagement with our potential customers.
I think we have time for one more, and that is, during the past year or two, combining e-commerce with virtual reality has been a significant trend. looking ahead to the next year, what other fresh elements can brands prioritize to captivate customers? Aside from AI, what other sort of innovations do you think that brands can utilize to captivate customers, or maybe something that you guys are working on at FARFETCH even?
I mean, today, of course, the virtual try-on is already not, let's say, innovation anymore because it exists for several years. We can use it for sneaker, we can use it for watches, and also the way that you kind of, during the design process, I think you know more than me now how to create a fabric and the design. You have a lot of amazing software, and I saw this year Adobe announced some interesting innovation in terms of the fabric, the 3D, all the things. But going forward, of course, content like today, you can see on some platform they are using also the virtual kind of character to do live streaming for brands already. So you have all those innovation ongoing. But one thing personally I always feel like is a challenge for the online business is the return. So I really hope that in the future that the innovation can help us to better fit, because yes, at the same time when online provides all the convenience, it's very smooth for you to return the product, but on another angle is the sustainability.
Yeah, it's not good for the carbon footprint.
Yeah, exactly. So we need to always think about the good for the sustainability. So if in the future the AI, the innovation actually can help on this kind of like to reduce the return, I think it's also very helpful. But content is something I think has a lot of imagination space. Yeah. So we are waiting to see.
Great. Thank you so much, Judy.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone.